Let's see. Let me mute this here. Telephone. Telephone. The telephono.
The telephone.
Telephono. NFL talk. Right there. Boom. What was the first one? Was that yesterday?
What's that?
That we did our first one? No, that was Friday.
No, day before.
So that was 115.
Yeah.
21. Okay. I updated the other one.
Are you still doing the same intro?
Oh, yeah. All right. Barry, could use your bat now. Brofest Productions presents The Playmakers with Big J and the Beard.
Hello, folks. Thank you all for joining us today. It is Sunday night. We're going to be filling you in here on the newest episode of The Playmakers. Just closed up divisional round weekend here on Sunday, so we're going to talk a little bit about what we saw, some of the matchups to look forward to during conference championship week, and I'd like to introduce my sidekick for the next hour, Big J. Big J, how you doing?
Sidekick? What the hell is a sidekick? Come on!
Robin, and I'm Batman.
No.
You know that. You know that.
No, we're not. Not Big J's, no Robin over here. Yeah, how you doing, folks? This is the Playmakers. We've got NFL playoff action coming at you. Hopefully, some of y'all got to actually watch the games the last 2 days, today and yesterday. But we definitely had some surprises and some disappointments. But let's go ahead and take a look at the first slate game on Saturday there, Beard. And let's talk about the 1-seeded Packers and the 6-seeded Rams. What was your opinion of that game?
Well, honestly, it was about what I expected. I figured the Rams would try to confuse Rodgers early, try to get him flushed out of the pocket. Although that's exactly where Aaron prefers to be.
Aaron,
he's that mobile type of quarterback. But yeah, I definitely wasn't surprised by the outcome. The first quarter was pretty competitive. The second quarter, Green Bay was able to score 16 points in that second quarter. And then once that third quarter rolled around with that lead, they just, they never took their foot off the pedal. But Aaron Rodgers was vintage Aaron Rodgers. He went 23 for 26, 296, 2 touchdowns, and got it done through the air. Again, no turnovers for Aaron, and just a solid performance all around for Green Bay.
Yeah, for sure. I think we both had Green Bay winning by double digits. I had them winning by 17. You had them winning by 14. They ended up winning by 14 points. And actually, your prediction was pretty darn close. Final score was 32-18, and Beard, your prediction was 31-17. So well done on that guess for the score there. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers, and I tell you what, it's we spoke about it on Friday. It's fun to watch him throw the ball. Something about his motion it's enjoyable to watch how he kind of just steps into the throws and kind of flicks that wrist, and he kind of has that little hop when he throws, which is pretty unique to him. But just, he just throws nice tight spirals, and I love watching those spirals fly through the air with that NFL film style camera angle that they have when they watch the ball fly through the air. I absolutely love that, and I don't think there's anybody in the league that throws a prettier ball than Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, honestly, wasn't surprised by that game at all. I was surprised that the Rams were actually in the game in the third quarter. I was expecting, they had a chance. It was either right before halftime or early in the third quarter. The Rams actually had a chance to really cut into the Packers' lead, and they let it slip away. But Rams showed up and played better than I thought they would. But final score ended up being kind of what we predicted.
Right. And just a second question for you, Big J. Aaron Donald did get hurt last
Yep.
week in the wild card round against Seattle. Do you think that outcome would have been maybe a little bit tighter, maybe a little more low scoring on Green Bay's side had Aaron Donald been 100%?
Well, I tell you what, one thing that I noticed that I think would have been the biggest thing having 100% Aaron Donald in there was the rushing yards and the Packers being able to run the ball.
Oh, yeah,
The
absolutely.
Packers had nearly 200 yards of rushing, and they had 12 first downs through running the ball, and a lot of that, from what I saw, most of it was between the tackles, and that's where Aaron Donald makes his money right there. It's not so much pressure on the quarterback, but it's stuff in the run, and having a guy, defensive tackle, nose tackle, however you want to look at it, having a guy there that can shut down basically two holes on either side of him, the 1 and 2 gaps or A and B gaps, you know that makes a big difference, and the Packers were able to expose that, and you could see he wasn't himself. So but I don't think it would have changed the outcome. I still think the Packers would have won. But I just would have expected a lower scoring game, maybe a tighter game there at the end. But I would have still expected the Packers to win that game.
Right. And just like just like you were saying, Aaron Jones, running back for the Green Bay Packers,
Yeah,
had 14 carries for 99 yards. That's a 7.1 yard average, which is just ridiculous.
yeah.
Backup
And
halfback. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as a team, they had 188 rushing yards on uh, on 36 carries. 36 rushing attempts for 188 yards. That's a 5.2 average. So that's pretty. 5 yards a time. Okay, all you mathematicians out there, you need 10 yards for a first down. If you're averaging 5.2 yards a carry in two run plays, you got yourself a first down. So that's that's huge. Whereas if you, on the other side of it, the Rams were running the ball really well too. They just didn't do
Right.
it long. They just didn't do it long enough, especially when you get down. I mean, they were averaging 5 yards a carry as well. They just didn't stick with it. They only had 19 run plays to the Packers 36. But again, the Packers did a good job. They were kind of ball hogs too. The Packers had the ball for almost 37 minutes, and the Rams only had it for 23. So they did a good job of staying on the field when they needed to. Um, See, I'm trying to find third down conversions, and that's a big thing right there. And you'll find in anything, even if you play video games, like if you play Madden, third down conversions is huge. And the Rams were 2 of 8, and the reason why the Packers had so much huge time of possession is because they were 8 of 12 on third downs.
Right. And it makes you wonder too that you talk about the success the Rams had running the ball. I mean, your halftime score 19-10,
Yeah.
in favor of Green Bay at halftime. Um, so it makes you wonder, why didn't Sean McVay wanna keep it that run the running game, a little bit more in that third quarter where he was turning Jared Goff loose. In my opinion, a little too early. Now,
Well,
Goff's numbers, weren't bad. He was 21 for 27 for a
right.
buck 74. But and it's been that way since McVay got hired. Is they are fairly balanced, and it makes you wonder exactly why they kind of went away from that when you're still within two possessions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it does make you wonder, especially being that they were having success on the ground. But when you have a young quarterback that you rely on, and I'm sure they've done that all year long. The Rams have, throwing the ball majority of the time. I mean, they've got a lot of talent out there, but it just seems, I don't know, something about that Rams team. I just didn't feel like they had the same bite that they had last year before.
Mm. Right, and that could stem from their defense being um, their defense is still top notch. They were still top 10 in the NFL, but you look for that veteran leadership, and maybe having an injured Aaron Donald without his fight and without his pep, being in the huddle and on the sideline, playing injured. We've both been there. It's nothing fun um, to to have to stand on the sidelines and watch your guys do battle without you, because every bit of your soul wishes you were out there, and just sometimes the time comes when you're not able to do that. So maybe that may have had something to do with that. But Packers do advance. Like we said, final score 32-18. So Big J, we're going to jump to the nightcap game that was last night. Number 2 seeded Buffalo Bills going against the number 5 seeded Baltimore Ravens. Now we both picked Buffalo to win this game, which they did. It was extremely low scoring than both of our predictions were.
Right.
Last night. But what me and you had talked about last episode is we talked about the mobile quarterbacks, and you had mentioned that their longevity is shortened because they are almost run first, pass second.
Yeah.
And we found that out last night with Lamar Jackson.
And
So
honestly,
tell me a little bit
yeah.
about what you saw.
And we could also touch on that with the Chiefs game today with Patrick Mahomes. Something that
Exactly right.
I thought was a absolutely stupid play call, running a college option play. But anyways, yeah, going
Yeah.
back to that, that's the thing. If you can't trust your eyes, your decision making as an NFL quarterback, and you have to rely on your legs, you make one, maybe two reads, and then you think you have to run with the ball. I just don't see you being successful. And the Bills were able to harness Lamar Jackson. I mean, heck, you saw it last night with the first 6 or 7 plays where they were all run plays and they were all read
Mm-hmm.
option plays where Lamar Jackson kept it a couple times he handed off, but I was just like, granted the Ravens can run the ball, but it's like at some point, and yeah, I think you even saw it. I was trying to think there was a moment in that game when I thought to myself, that tells me that John Harbaugh has zero confidence in his quarterback throwing the ball. They had, gosh, I can't remember what the situation was. I want to say it was a fourth down maybe, or a third and short, and and uh, and they ran him on a sweep to the right side, and he got swallowed
Mm-hmm.
up. And I remember 49 for the Bills, middle linebacker Tremaine, something like that. That guy is
Yeah,
an absolute.
Tremaine.
That guy's an absolute stud. I love watching him play.
He is. Yes, he
But
is.
he came flying. He came flying up and took Lamar Jackson out. Dropped him for a 2 yard loss. On a 3rd and 2, and you're going to call that play. That tells me you just don't have confidence in your quarterback's decision making and confidence that he can read a defense. And I think that's where you get exposed in the playoffs when you're playing the best teams in the league. Uh, and I think that's why Josh Allen was successful. You watch yesterday. They threw the first 13, 14 plays were pass plays. And
Mm-hmm.
their first run play was Josh Allen scramble out of bounds. But you watch that. Now, granted, the Bills' offensive line did a tremendous job. Josh Allen had all day back there to throw the ball. But you watched him. He was a statue. He did not have to move. He could just see his head looking left, looking into the middle, looking right, looking back left if he had to. And he was just throwing darts, and they were right on the money most of the time. And that's the kind of quarterback that you can win Super Bowls with, not the kind that you have to run these fake this, fake that, read option crap, because it's only going to take one hit, or even like Mahomes today. I don't know how the hell that guy got a concussion. His head didn't touch anything. Um, so maybe there's something more with that, which we'll cover the bottom half of the hour, I should say. But yeah, it's Josh Allen just proved what we already knew, that we knew he was a solid quarterback. And when you put up numbers like the Bills did, having 100, they only threw for 188 yards, and but Josh Allen, his decision making was really good. There were some drop balls. The wind was whipping around like crazy, and they even mentioned it during the broadcast that they thought the wind was having an effect on the flight trajectory. Unless you're throwing tight spirals in any kind of wind, unless it's a tight spiral, it's going to flutter. But I'm rambling on here. But anyways, yeah. I mean, the way the game played out was how I expected. And Josh Allen, I thought he played tremendous.
Yeah, yeah, he did. And when you were talking about the offensive line for Buffalo, they're lining up against the likes of Campbell, and then you got Derek Wolfe in there. So guys that are guys that are seasoned veterans and are no stranger to big playoff games, and the fact that Buffalo's offensive line was able to protect Josh Allen, keep him upright for 95% of that game, and like I said, very very little pressure. But I tell you what I was most impressed with was the improvement in Buffalo's defense.
Absolutely,
And
they were the story of the game, in my opinion.
yes, exactly right. Because you look at the strides that they made, and we'll cover this later on. But you look at Buffalo's defense when they played Kansas City earlier this year. I believe it was week 6,
It was
7,
pretty early on, yeah.
somewhere in there. But Buffalo's defense had gaping holes, and it was Kansas City was running at will. Edwards-Helaire had a big game that game, but they showed up against the number one ranked rushing offense. Now, granted, a lot of that was Lamar Jackson, and I've said that from day one. You will not win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson if he has to throw for, say, roughly 30 times. When you're down in the game and you need him to complete passes, that is just something that he has not proven that he can do. Not saying that he can't in the future. And, eventually, those mobile quarterbacks, they, eventually try to convert themselves into a little more of a pocket passer. You look at, like, say, a Michael Vick, when he spent his time in Philadelphia. He was primarily in the pocket and had, a little bit of success. Nothing flashy, but he showed a few glimpses of being able to read the defense. And I think Lamar Jackson needs desperate help reading a defense, because he is dropping back almost like a Tim Tebow, which I don't know why people gave Tebow a lot of grief about that when he was in Denver. When he's basically doing the same exact thing that Lamar Jackson is doing, and they gave him an MVP last year for doing that same stuff.
Well, yeah, and the big thing too is, if you have that skill, you have that ability to be mobile and be able to run the ball. Just like when Michael Vick was the most successful. Well, granted, they did make it to the NFC Championship game early on in Vick's career in Atlanta. But if you look and see what he did in Philadelphia, I thought he was a far better player in Philadelphia than he ever was in Atlanta, because he was a pocket passer first. And then when nothing was there or the pocket would break down, then he could use his legs, but he was still looking downfield. He wasn't tucking it to run it. He was moving to find somebody else that open, and his running was the last thing that was his last option. And that's where I enjoyed watching him play. You see these guys that are in college and they do that in college. It just does not translate unless you have a solid defense or Tyreek Hill on your team. I just don't see how you can win games that way.
Right. Yeah. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't.
And
I
Lamar
don't see it
Jackson, I
happening.
mean, he was 14 to 24 for 162 yards through the one interception. And then his backup is pretty much the same mold as him. 6 of 13 passing for 60 yards. Combined, they were sacked 4 times. Josh Allen was only sacked twice. And, quarterback rating, they're about the same, because Josh Allen was only 23 of 37. But he didn't throw any interceptions. He didn't make that mistake. And again, with that wind, I don't know how much the wind was a factor as far as his incompletions go. But I felt that his decision making was really good. He had balls that hit his receivers in the hands, and they just didn't bring it in. But there weren't any bad passes that got intercepted.
Right.
So,
And the big asset for for Buffalo last night. Stephon Diggs, none other than him. He had eight grabs for 106 and that big touchdown in the third quarter, which really propelled Buffalo. But like you were saying, when Huntley came in relief of Lamar Jackson, which Lamar Jackson did get that concussion in the fourth quarter, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was taken in concussion protocol and then ruled
Oh,
out.
he slammed his head on the turf pretty darn hard
He did.
on
He
the other snap, on the second snap that went over his head.
Right. Right. He did.
Yeah, that's the other weird thing. Let me interrupt you for just a second. I've seen so many bad snaps in this year's playoffs. It's unreal. How has this happened all of a sudden?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
You know,
yeah.
because Green Bay
would expect
had one. I think the Rams, Green Bay or the Rams, one of the two had one.
You had a couple. You had a couple tonight with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember that one snap that came back to Brady was on the ground.
Yeah,
basically rolled to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would expect to see that week 1, week 2. You know, especially this year with COVID, no preseason, no OTAs. But I mean, this is this is playoff football. You know, this isn't week 1. You're not playing.
Right.
You know, you're not playing Jacksonville. You know, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyway, back to Huntley. You know, you go back to that fourth down conversion when he overthrew, I believe it was Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Where he would have had a touchdown pass. Now maybe that would have been a difference maker in the game. It's like I said, they turned the ball over. Now, you know, obviously Buffalo then was in the chew clock mode. So they weren't really trying to pick up a first down. But maybe that was a game changer. But there again shows you somebody that is run first, pass second, a wide open receiver that probably you take 90% of other quarterbacks in the league, they can make that throw.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think.
Yeah, there's no doubt that would have changed the I think that would have changed the outcome. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome, but that definitely would have made Buffalo have to score on that next possession.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you factor that in because then, you're sitting at a 10-17 game with, 3 and some change left.
Yeah, they would have
left
to do
in the
something
fourth quarter.
with that possession.
Yeah. Yes.
And
exactly.
before we move past this game, we'll get our scores here. The final score was 17-3 in favor of the Buffalo Bills. My guess was 24-19 in favor of Buffalo. And Beard, your guess was 24-21 in favor of Buffalo. So we both had it as a higher scoring game, but also, I think, low 20s for an NFL game. I think that shows pretty solid defense. So we had that in mind. But again, you got to take the weather in consideration. I think a few more scores would have happened on both sides. Take the wind out. Obviously, there's a field goal kicking was a disaster. The most accurate kicker in NFL history missed two kicks that the look on his face after he missed both of them. He was shocked that he missed them too. So hitting both uprights. But anyways, you had those two kicks. You had that touchdown pass that should have been a 2-point conversion, and guess what? You got a tie ball game. So there's those little fundamentals. Field goal, 3 points. Early in the first quarter might not seem much at the time, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, every point matters.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And what we had talked about earlier is still, even these 4 games the last 2 days, still very, very competitive, which I like. Still no blowouts. I think this year, with the whole COVID situation and everything going on, it would maybe make you think that the games would be a little more lopsided, which, we always get our handful during the regular season. You get your lopsided wins. But I feel this year's, playoffs have been some of the best because every game has been tight. And, really, you don't have a clear-cut winner until that fourth quarter.
Right.
Which makes for very, very entertaining football.
All right. Well, let's move on to the early game today. The Kansas City Chiefs, the AFC's 1 seed, hosting the 6 seed and the Cleveland Browns. We both expected Cleveland to come out firing on all cylinders after after getting a huge win at a huge division rival last week for their first playoff win in 25 years. Um, I really thought, just like you did, that they'd come out firing. The Chiefs, basically, the Chiefs starters had 2 weeks off. They didn't play the last game of the regular season. They had last week off, and then they came back this week. And I expected them not to necessarily be rusty, but I expected Cleveland to kind of jump on them early, and that didn't happen, to my surprise. But Cleveland's defense, they showed some stout. Unfortunately, they didn't watch enough game film to realize you gotta contain number 10. If you can't contain number 10, you're not going to win the game. Um, Tyreek Hill absolutely tore the Chiefs up. He had so many big catches. Even the juggling catch there that should have been an incompletion, or that they called an incompletion or reviewed it. I did hear on the radio at one point. I didn't watch every minute of this game. I did hear on the radio at one point from Westwood One's radio broadcast that the Chiefs had a completion that was called a completion on the field that should have been an incomplete pass, but the Chiefs got up to the line of scrimmage and snapped the ball before anybody could have challenged it. So, but the Chiefs come out and they prevail at home, 22-17 over the Cleveland Browns. Of course, we both had a huge high scoring affair in Kansas City. Of course, the weather looked pretty good. I'd say it's pretty good for football in Kansas City this time of year. Other than it being maybe a little windy, it wasn't bad. But I had my score of 35-34 in favor of the Chiefs, and Beard, you had 48-44 in favor of the Browns. The actual final score was 22-17. So, give me your takes of this game from today.
Well, I think it starts and ends with Rashard Higgins and that costly fumble through the end zone late in the second quarter, which led to a Kansas City field goal before halftime. I think that was the difference maker in this game, because you go into halftime now, you score there. There's still a minute and some change for Kansas City, but I think at that point momentum would have shifted to the side of Cleveland, because granted they were coming out of halftime, they were receiving the ball. So that's a 10-point swing there. You go into halftime trailing 10-16, as opposed to going into halftime trailing 3-19. But I think it starts and ends with that play to Rashard Higgins and that fumble out of the back of the end zone. I think that was the definite turning point. Now, granted, in the second half, Cleveland made a very strong run, and then of course, Big J will talk about the injury to Mahomes when he gets his chance here. But I think it starts with that. I was impressed with Baker Mayfield through that interception coming out of halftime. He shook it off, was able to rally his troops and take them down the field, and score those two huge touchdowns in the third and fourth quarter to make it more of a game. But I think Cleveland's defense, we weren't really bragging about them all week looking towards this game. That's why we had such a high scoring pick between both of these teams. Cleveland obviously has some holes on that defensive side, and needed a stop against a second stringer, Chad Henne, and they were just unable to do it. When a quarterback's able to scamper for almost 15 yards on the third down when you got man-to-man coverage and you can't get anybody on him.
Yeah, and you have to get an absolute stop. There's no doubt about it.
Right, and you have a 15-yard gap between the offensive line and then the next guy that can make a tackle. Yeah. That is just unacceptable.
And you look early on in that game too. I think it took Cleveland. I mean, their defensive coordinator is Joe Woods, and any Bronco fan out there will recognize that name, as he was directly under Wade Phillips when we had our tough defense in the mid 2010s. A lot of us thought Joe Woods was going to be the guy for us on after that, but that didn't happen. Now it took him. I think the Chiefs. I think Jim Nantz said it. The first 20 plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, they had 11 first downs and 13 plays. 13 first downs and 11 plays over over 10 yards or something like that. Uh,
Hmm.
something along those lines. Um, or maybe it was vice versa. It was 11 first downs in 20 plays, and then 13 plays were over 10 yards. They were just giving up so many yards, and you could see. I mean, Mahomes is averaging 8.1 yards per pass. Well, that was as a team, but still, 8.1 yards per pass play. Only ran three more plays. Only ran three more plays than the Cleveland Browns did, and yet they gained 130 more yards of offense. So that just goes to show, Cleveland, if they would have played a little bit better in the first half on defense, then honestly, after what happened with Mahomes, there's no doubt in my mind that the Browns are heading to Buffalo this next weekend.
Exactly right. And I was a little bit surprised because Cleveland, Joe Woods, with their secondary. I know Ward was injured there for a handful of series there in the second half, which he's their best cornerback, their best lockdown corner. But still, the fact that they were lining up in man to man, which to put it bluntly is extremely ballsy when you're going against the speed threat of, like, say, a Tyreek Hill,
Yeah.
or even Travis Kelce for that matter. And lining up, you got a 3rd and 15. When you get the sack, you get the big play, you're at the 2-minute warning. You need one stop to get the ball back with, say, just over a minute to play. Now, granted, you're not going to have any timeouts, but at least you guys got a chance
Right.
to try to make something happen. And you line up in a man-to-man. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I personally don't get that play call.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you're going up against. What point are you talking about the man to man on that third and long?
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
third and
and
long.
and that's the thing too that I didn't understand that either, is because you have a backup quarterback. Now, granted, Chad Henne got to play Week 17 when Mahomes and most of the starters sat out. So that ended up working out really well for the Chiefs. Obviously, with Mahomes getting injured, which we'll discuss still, but with Mahomes getting injured and Chad Henne actually, getting to play 2 weeks ago, that helped him be comfortable. So man-to-man coverage, yes, by all means, I would make call a zone defense, maybe a cover six on that instance. But that's the thing. Unless it's Mahomes that's back there, why would you think that Chad Henne's going to take off and run the ball? You wouldn't. So
Right.
obviously they would have played it different had Mahomes been there. But chances are, man to man would have been the right call against Mahomes, but they might have had a spy too. But yeah, if it was me, now obviously I'm nowhere near as smart as the defensive coordinators in this league. But oh, what did I do? Um, but the fact of the matter is that um, when you have a quarterback that's not accustomed to playing every down, and in this game was his first ever playoff pass attempt, you got to make him read a defense. You can't play man to man. To me, that's too easy.
Hmm.
Unless you've got the Bronco cornerbacks secondary from 2015, you don't call a man-to-man defense on 3rd and 15 with a backup quarterback in the game. That just baffles me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, if you don't have the likes of, say, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., a T.J. Ward, and a strong
Justin
safety like
Simmons.
that, yeah, Justin Simmons, you don't have the right to even attempt to line up to a man-to-man. And say, even if you were forced to line up in a man-to-man, maybe send a little bit of pressure. I believe they only rushed 4 on that third down
Yeah,
play.
yeah, it's just
Um,
normal rush, normal four-man rush.
so I mean, at least a blitz, maybe would have had a chance, or
Well,
even, just like you said, maybe have a linebacker spy, because Chad Henne ain't no 4.3 40 quarterback. He's your average goose there in the backfield.
yeah,
Um,
but you got to,
which
yeah. But that's the thing. You got to give it to him. He laid himself on the line to get that first down, and it turned out to not be a first down. But I think that got the guys fired up enough to where I think that's why Andy Reid called that play. I applaud that play. Eric Bieniemy, former CU Buffalo, former San Diego Charger. I absolutely love that call that they decided to throw the ball. That shows a lot of confidence in your entire team, not just your quarterback. Obviously, when
Right.
and they even showed the play. The Chiefs ran the exact same play against Miami when they needed to put the game away when Miami was hanging around when they shouldn't have been. They ran that exact same play, threw it to the exact same player in Tyreek Hill. So obviously the Browns didn't do enough homework, in my opinion. But honestly, I mean that was a great play call. On 4th and inches with the game on the line, um, how many people are thinking, yeah, they're going to throw the ball with their backup quarterback? Probably,
Mm-hmm.
there's not many. So that was a great play call. But you know, um, but yeah, let's quickly talk about the Mahomes injury. Now, watching the play, I heard it on the radio, and I had to rewind the DVR when I got home to see it for myself. But Mahomes, it was on a third and short, and they ran for whatever reason they ran like a 12 option to the right side with just Mahomes and a running back, and smartly they
Yeah.
left Mahomes uncovered, and he didn't take an extremely hard hit. He didn't even get hit in his head at all. His head didn't even touch the grass until he was laying down on his back. But he stood up and damn near fell over, and you could just see it in his eyes when the camera zoomed in on him. He was gone. Something was not right, but his head was not touched. So I don't know what the heck happened there. They're saying it was a concussion, but I don't know how it was a concussion. Um,
Y-
I,
Yeah. When I watched that play, it looked to be more of a neck injury. When you see that guy kind of wrap up on him, he has his arm
yeah, I agree.
around his neck. So if they said it was a concussion for whatever reason, and it 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 is very possible that it could have been. But then the questions are going to arise throughout this week: is if Mahomes is going to be able to play, which I'm sure he'll be able to.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that. I mean, let's just go ahead and call it. Let's just go ahead and call it. I mean, the NFL isn't exactly clean, so I'd say that that Mahomes is going to play whether he passes that 5-step concussion protocol or not, because they're going to end up coming out saying that it's not a concussion or something if he doesn't
mhm.
pass it, and they'll keep an eye on him as well. Obviously, they won't. They'll make sure they don't let him run the ball, and they'll be throwing a lot of quick passes to Tyreek Hill, no doubt, and Travis Kelsey, to the top receivers, pass catchers in the league. Which obviously helps bail out your quarterback. But
Mhm.
oh, look,
Well, I mean,
but it's I don't think concussion is the right decision there as far as his injuries go, because it's just weird that he, like you said, he wrapped around his neck and it kind of looked that way. And of course, all these Chiefs fans are saying that the guy was trying to purposely hurt him and twist his neck, which he didn't do. But for him to get up and almost fall over, and you could see the look in his eyes that he definitely had something going on there. So we'll see what happens, but there's no doubt in my mind he'll be playing against the Bills next week. But that's a great system that Andy Reid has in place. And even if let's just say Mahomes broke his neck, Chad Henne is with that system that they have there, Chad Henne is plenty good enough to win that ball game as well.
oh yeah,
He's no
absolutely.
Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that because of that system, just like look what happened in New England with Tom Brady the year he blew out his knee, courtesy of the Kansas City Chiefs, which a lot of NFL fans at that time were pretty thankful for that injury. But they brought in a guy who didn't even play in college, and he led the team to an 11-5 record. They didn't make the playoffs with an 11-5 record, but he still, Matt Castle, he led him to an 11-5 record, which just goes to show you have the right system. You can plug a lot of different quarterbacks in there as long as they have similar skill sets, which obviously Chad Henne does have a similar skill set, just obviously not the arm strength. But everything else I'd say is right on par with old Mahomie.
Right, right, exactly. And that season with Matt Castle, eventually led to Castle getting a huge deal, which
Huge.
I, I don't remember who the hell it was for. Um, it was Kansas City. Um, got that big deal with Kansas City, and lo and behold, they found out in a different system. Yeah, not so good.
Yep.
So you're exactly right. You plug in, you have you have a good system. You have a decent core of guys, around you. A good solid offensive line, good receivers, which Kansas City has. You can put just about anybody in there and have any kind of success. Which Andy Reid is a player's coach. Everybody respects him. I'm a big fan of him. Not so much since he's been in Kansas City, just for the reason that I dislike Kansas City so much. But he is a good coach. And just one more note before we move on to the nightcap game tonight, Big J, is talking about, you said some of those people from Kansas City were saying that guy was intentionally trying to hurt Mahomes. Right. Whether that's true or not, we don't know.
Well, we know.
Contrary,
go ahead.
Right. Contrary to popular belief, the NFL is a contact sport. You get paid to kill the person that lines across from you.
Yep.
Now, we can go back to, the big debacle between New Orleans and Minnesota in that playoff game when, they were offered bonuses to try to get to the person who could hurt Brett Favre, what have you there. But the NFL still, even with all these new rules to protect players, it is still a extremely physical sport.
Yep.
And sometimes, people get hurt. You look at Mahomes last year, or maybe it was the year before.
It was the year before against the Broncos.
Yes, it was the year before on a quarterback sneak, and dislocated his kneecap on a play that Tom Brady, for one, got hundreds of times throughout his career and never gotten injured. So
right.
Sometimes stuff happens in the heat, and me and Big J both played football. When you're in the heat of the moment, you're just trying to grab onto that person that has the ball, whether you get his neck, whether you get his head, you're just trying to get him on the ground. And I doubt there was any intent to injure him.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you're going to run the ball, you got to be able to take the hits, no matter
right.
They come in all forms. But like I said, it was there was nothing malicious about the hit even. So again, you kind of question how the hell did he get hurt so bad. So my first thing was because it was his neck, maybe they actually accidentally ripped his jugular, but he didn't pass away on the sidelines. So that was not the case. But I'll be honest, part of me was kind of hoping that was the case. But so I'm kind of sick of seeing those State Farm commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
But, all right, well, let's move on to the nightcap tonight. A shocker, the New Orleans Saints and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, of course, they got killed in one of the two games earlier this year, but they lost the first two against the New Orleans Saints, and they go into New Orleans and pretty much lay the hammer down on Drew Brees. And they always say, it is so hard to beat one team 3 times in one season, and I think this proves that point 100%, because even though the Buccaneers offense didn't look all that spectacular, the Bucs defense was the star of this game. They made Drew Brees, basically they made him look like somebody other than Drew Brees.
Yeah, exactly right. And almost looked like that New Orleans defense was caught off guard a little bit. And we had talked about that earlier about the defense that's led by Todd Bowles and their aggressive nature. But it's not every day that Drew Brees throws 3 interceptions. Not 1, not 2, but 3 costly interceptions.
And in a playoff game.
Right, exactly. And, funny story is the last time Drew Brees had ever thrown 3 interceptions was back in 2016 against Tampa Bay.
No kidding. Wow.
But it was a little sad because, leading up to this game, it was made aware that this was possibly Drew Brees' last season. And you kind of have to feel bad for the guy. A guy that has been, one of the most elite passers in the league the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Holds almost every passing record as far as yards and touchdowns and completions and stuff like that. You kind of have to feel bad for the guy. And granted that New Orleans had lost, this made their 3rd straight home divisional round loss. And it just makes you think, that defense for Tampa was definitely prepared. Michael Thomas was non-existent in this game, which he's usually Drew Brees' number 1 receiver.
Yeah, you're right.
I believe he only had I believe he only had 4 targets, but didn't have a single catch. But yeah, I was pretty shocked by the outcome of this game. When you see like when you see New Orleans, jump out to that lead in the third quarter, and then you start having the turnovers, and Tampa Bay wasn't moving the ball, and then all of a sudden it's a 17-point swing there in that second half, and yeah, I mean it was a tough game to watch. I was definitely rooting for New Orleans. Just the fact that they said this was Breeze's last year. And if it is, that is definitely not the way you want to go out.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this is whether or not Breeze retires. I believe this was his last game in New Orleans for the Saints. But I do think, even though it's going to leave a horrible taste in his mouth, a lot like it did with Brett Favre in Minnesota against those Saints, I think he's going to step away. I mean, I'm glad that he's got a Super Bowl ring to account for, even though it came against Peyton Manning. So he's got all the numbers, all the stats. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. And he is, as you see the patch there on his left shoulder, he has been the Walter Payton Man of the Year for so many times. He's been their nominee for that team. He is I mean, that's the reason why he went to New Orleans, was because right after Hurricane Katrina, he wanted to go there and be able to help out the locals and help out that city. And that just goes to show you where his heart and his head is. He's a true he's an epitome of a professional. And unfortunately, guys like him, guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those guys, once they're all gone, we're not going to have guys like that in the league anymore. Guys who aren't chasing money, who are actually staying with the team. Now, granted, he got traded here. He got released, or no, was it traded or released from San Diego? Back in the day,
he was released due to his shoulder injury.
Shoulder against the Broncos.
Yep.
But,
yeah, courtesy of John Lynch.
John Lynch,
if I remember it.
Yeah, you're right. But to see guys be able to stay in one place and create excitement for a city that for so many years they were called the Aints because they were so horrible, and the Saints have been. For some people, they don't even know the Saints used to suck. Just like the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. There's plenty of people out there that never knew that the Patriots were the laughing stock of the league. I remember when the Broncos back in the '80s, we'd lose to the Patriots, and I used to think when I was a kid, "Are you kidding me? We lost to the freaking Patriots, or we would beat the Patriots, but the score was like 9-6." I still remember I wrote that score down on my metal scoreboard thing, and I was like, "How do we only beat the Patriots by 3 points?" Because the Patriots are laughing stock. But, you've got these stud quarterbacks, these veteran guys that come in, and they definitely are the reason why NFL football is so good. You've got, these guys play for the right reasons. They play with heart. They play with passion. And unfortunately, I think you're kind of missing out on that. You're definitely missing that part of it is gone in the NBA, in my opinion. But the NFL, it still resides with some of these older veterans.
Yeah, exactly right. I actually saw a picture today on a Broncos fan page that I follow on Facebook, and it was a picture of Peyton Manning when he played for Denver pregame, and he was on the sidelines, kind of knelt down, and he was talking to all these kids on the sidelines, and just kind of made you think, you see the guys like Tom Brady, probably Aaron Rodgers, you got your Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, those big time players that would do anything for their city and for the team that they play for, and you have some of these other guys that are all about the money. They want to get these big deals, and a lot of people forget that when Manning came back for that 2015 season, that he restructured his whole contract that last year to be able to bring in the likes of, say, like a T.J. Ward, Aqib Talib, some of those, some of those guys, because DeMarcus Ware. That's right, because he knew in order for him to make it back to the Super Bowl, they needed some help on the defense, and you take some of these other big name guys, they're all about the money. I don't think they would, restructure their contract. You look at a Deshaun Watson, for example. If they asked him to restructure his contract because they want to re-sign J.J. Watt, or they want to bring in some young gun that has a high contract, I don't think he would. Well, either pay me or trade me. That's exactly what he would say. And it's just, it's a damn shame.
Yeah.
It is a damn shame that the league is coming to it now. Granted, not all NFL players are like that, but there's probably more of the bad kind than the good kind now.
Yeah. I have to agree with that. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff you don't see behind the scenes. So you hope that all these other guys that are looked up to by so many youngsters, just like we looked up to the stars of our day back when we were young. Hopefully that they're actually, that what you see on TV is legitimately what they are. I think Patrick Mahomes is one of those good guys, but honestly, it's easy for me to say. I've never made $140 million in my life on a contract for the company I work for. But if I was Patrick Mahomes, I know he's got his agent talking to him saying you're the best quarterback in the league. You should be paid like it. If I was him, I'd be like, you know what? I don't care. I'll make plenty of money doing endorsements and this, that, and the other. That's why Peyton, he doesn't have to do anything else because he still has his endorsements. Tom Brady is no different. Aaron Rodgers is no different. If I was him, I'd be like, you know what? I don't need all that money. Give me like $5-10 million a year for 10 years, and I'm good. Leave it at that. And if our salary cap gets tight because we have so many stars on this team, like Tyreek Hill, when he wants to re-sign, guess what? If they win the Super Bowl again this year, I don't see Tyreek Hill being in Kansas City. So the Chiefs are going to be rooting for a back-to-back Super Bowl. Obviously, it hasn't happened since 2003, 2004 New England Patriots. But if they win a second Super Bowl, actually, I think regardless whether or not they win a Super Bowl, Tyreek Hill should be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. He is without a doubt the best receiver in the NFL, and he's not going to be. I can't see him being in Kansas City next year. I just see there's Jacksonville. Jacksonville would be a great spot. Imagine Jacksonville having him, Trevor Lawrence. A guy that Trevor Lawrence can do like what Pat Mahomes does. Just throw it to number 10, let him do his thing. Let him gain your yards for you. Put him, like the Chiefs, put him in the backfield, 20 times a game, and Mahomes pitches it forward, and that pads those passing yards numbers. So I could definitely see that happening, but there's no doubt about it that Tyreek Hill is going to want to be getting paid. He doesn't beat women and kids for free, so he's going to definitely want to get paid for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're
Sorry,
right about that.
I was on my soapbox there for a bit. Sorry, a little hatred comes out about the Chiefs when I discuss them. But if you look at the game, let's get back to this Buccaneers and Saints game. Tom Brady. How good is this guy? Granted, he had so much help from his defense today, and that defense, I don't remember the guy's name, number 45. It was the second year, his second playoff game, and he was a linebacker, just like that linebacker for the Bills. You have to
Devin
have
White.
Was that who it was? Okay.
Yeah,
for the
Devin
longest,
White.
yeah. For the longest time, the Buccaneers, they have, they during their time, they had a great safety in John Lynch. They had a great middle linebacker. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. The great middle linebacker in Derek Brooks, had a great defensive tackle in Warren Sapp. And if you kind of look at what that defense has now, if this guy, if Devin Walker, whatever you said his name was, if he turns out to be, keep playing this way, he's one of those guys in the defense. It's going to be a solid hole to fill. And this is only his second year. They'll be able to keep him under that rookie contract for the next couple of years. But that's definitely something big. Going up against Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a true test for that Bucs defense, but I expect a really good game. It's going to be in Lambeau Field. It's going to be a cold game, but that defense for the Buccaneers really, really impressed me today, and I don't think that was a fluke.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I honestly don't think that Tampa Bay was getting enough credit coming into this game. I know me and you both picked New Orleans to win in a close game.
Yep.
Over Tampa. But yeah, I mean, Tampa's defense under the constant pressure they had Breeze on. Breeze never really looked comfortable um, when he had the ball in his hands, and it just goes to show you that just like I alluded to last time. You put the best quarterbacks under pressure. They don't like it, and it forces them into some bad decisions. Now, even that last interception that Brees threw to his tight end. What the heck was his name?
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Jared Cook.
Yeah, there you
Um,
go.
I mean I don't know if his vision was a little bit impaired by by the corner in front of him. But I mean, you can clearly see the ball grazed, right off his
Yep.
left arm,
Yep.
and where he had his hands was in nowhere near where the ball was.
Right.
So I don't know if you can put all that on Breeze, and you saw them talking on the sideline after that interception. Um, but I mean, that was a definite surprise. And then also on the sideline when Tampa was when Tampa was kneeling to close out the game, you saw Drew Brees and Jameis Winston share a little moment there on the sidelines, and you saw Winston kind of put his arm around Brees, offering some moral support. So I mean, we don't know what the future may hold. I certainly hope that Brees does come back, whether it's with New Orleans or not. I think he's a very likable guy. One of the best to ever do it. Um, he's had nothing but success since he came to New Orleans, and sadly he's mostly known for some tough defeats in the playoffs. You can kind of compare it a little bit to Peyton Manning. He was always the best in the regular season, and every now and then he struggled. Peyton struggled in the postseason, and Breeze is kind of in that same category as Peyton Manning was,
Yeah.
but was able to get over the hump in Super Bowl 50.
Well, I tell you what, if you look at the stats from this game, and you take the negatives away, it's a pretty even game, and it's hard to see that one team would actually win by double digits until you get to those turnovers. 4 turnovers for the Saints and 0 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which goes to show you when you're in the playoffs, the turnover margin, the turnover battle is so important. And you can't turn that. Granted, the last interception was almost like a desperation, trying to get the ball down the field, trying to get points on the board in a hurry. But 3 turnovers before that, including a fumble. It's so difficult to overcome that without, especially when the other team is able to move the ball and able to put some points on the board here and there. So that's definitely something that, unfortunately for the Saints, as coming in as the 2 seed, they'll have to look back and say somehow, swallow their pride a bit and say it was a successful season, but they have to feel like they left a lot on the table there.
Oh, they did. I mean, you look at their 2 drives. They get the ball to start the game. They drive right down the field and have to settle for a field goal. Tampa gets the ball. They're able to sack Tom Brady on a 3rd down. They get the ball again, drive down the field, get another field goal. You put at least 1 touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns. You're in a 14-point hole already, and the whole complexion for this game has now changed.
Yeah.
You're not climbing out of a 6-point hole. You're in a 14-point hole.
Yeah,
And,
that's one thing that a good friend of the show, Mark Schlereth, old Stink, always said was that if you every time you get in the red zone, if you kick a field goal, you're 3 points closer to losing. And unfortunately, that's happened to the Broncos many times, and today it happened to the Saints.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
All right.
Mark is a good friend of the Playmakers here.
Good
That's
friend
for
of the
sure.
show. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in the Colorado area, make sure you go pick up Stink's Green Chili. I hear it's spectacular. Unfortunately, they don't have it here in Wichita, Kansas. All right, well, let's move on.
It is really good. I just want
Have
to
you
say
had it?
I've had it before. It is really good. It's actually you can get it as a side dish at Elway's Steakhouse
Well,
in Denver.
all right. Well, Jay's got a problem here. How come Beard has never sent Jay any of Stink's green chili? Now, I mean, that is just freaking ridiculous right there. All right, I want everybody to send your hate mail to to the Beard at playmakers.com. All right. Okay, we don't really have that website, so if anybody's actually listening to this, don't go there. All right, so let's move on to the conference championship.
We don't know what's there.
Yeah, we don't know
You
what's
may
there.
be surprised. You may be surprised in the URL when that URL pops up. You may be surprised.
All right, so let's move on to the conference championship games. You got the Chiefs hosting as the 1 seed, hosting the 2 seed Buffalo Bills, and on the NFC side, you have the 1 seeded Packers hosting the number 5 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's which side do you want to start with there, Beard? Let's quickly cover this. We'll go into more depth in our next episode on Friday night when we can really dive into the nuts and the bolts of these two matchups. Let's just quickly skim over both of these.
Okay, well, let's go to that AFC side.
Okay.
Ooh, very nice. AFC side, you got Josh Allen coming up in his third year. Definitely an up-and-comer, MVP candidate this year. Had a very strong season going against the the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs and their Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. I expect this game to be very competitive. I think Buffalo has a very good chance. I think their defense matches up very good with Kansas City. Granted that they've already played them so far this year, and even then that game was very tight, only a 10-point win for Kansas City. So I'm very much looking forward to the AFC Championship game this coming Sunday.
Yeah, it should be a good game. I think the Bills. I think their defense is going to show up, and obviously because the Chiefs won the first matchup between these two teams, I like the Bills' chances in this one. And obviously Mahomes, we know he's probably has turf toe. That's not something that goes away in a couple weeks. You know, that's something that lingers and lingers and lingers. You know, some people actually have to have surgery for that stuff. But anyways, it's I really like the Bills' chance. I think they come in with confidence. I think it's going to be hard for the Chiefs to cover Diggs, but I think it's going to be hard for them to get pressure. If the Bills' offensive line can do what they did against the Ravens, I think the Bills win this one because they can hog the ball, and I think they will be more run oriented because the Chiefs' run defense isn't all that great. All right, so let's go ahead and move past that one. Let's go to the NFC. Packers hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you know it's going to be a cold one up there in Lambeau.
Yeah, exactly right. You got Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. I mean, what more could you ask for in it? You got me?
Beard? Did I lose Beard? Come in, Beard.
No.
Did I lose Beard?
No, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, no. Sorry, my volume got turned down somehow.
Oh.
Apparently I was too animated when I was talking. Sorry, my bad.
All right. Well, anyway, what I was saying, you got Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. You know, what more could you ask for in an NFC Championship game? I'm very, very excited for this one, just like the AFC side. You know, you got the aging superstars on the NFC side. You got the young guns of the NFL on the AFC side. And I'm very much looking forward to this game. Given this is Aaron Rodgers' first NFC Championship game at home, I give the slight edge to Green Bay, given their offense is just so explosive. Defense is a little iffy, but I really want to see Tampa's defense, try to go, step for step against Aaron Rodgers. Now, granted, these two teams did play earlier, which was Rodgers' worst game of this season, throwing 2 interceptions. But I like Rodgers to be able to bounce back in this NFC Championship.
Yeah, I think the cold is going to affect the Buccaneers and the Packers. You know, yeah, it's hard to say. Nobody's ever used to playing in the snow in the cold, but the Buccaneers have a track record of not doing well anytime it's below 40 degrees. 40 degrees. 40 degrees. That's not even cold to those of us that are from Colorado. So, um, Brady's used to it, obviously, but his receivers, most likely, they're not. I do like Green Bay in this one as well. I think it'd be interesting to see the Packers Bills matchup. Hell, even a Packers Chiefs matchup. That brings us back to early Super Bowl days when the Super Bowl 1 and 2 was the Packers. Super Bowl 3, the Chiefs got their first Super Bowl. So that kind of is old school. So I wouldn't mind seeing that as well. But obviously, we're hoping for the Bills over here in Bronco country. Hoping for Bills, and it'd be kind of cool. As much as we disliked old Big Tom down there in New England, I think it'd be kind of neat to see him win one with the Buccaneers. And you never know. He everything's leading towards him staying again for another year. But how cool would it be for him to go out on top, just like Big John did and Peyton Manning?
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I was never a big Brady fan. Granted, he used to be in the AFC with New England, so Denver, New England used to meet quite a bit. But yeah, you got to pull for the guy. 43 years old, has been through a lot, has a supermodel wife, has the kids, has all the money. You'd like to see him go out on top, that's for sure. But on the other side of that, you got Aaron Rodgers, only one Super Bowl victory. He gets another one. He moves in front of the all-great Brett Favre, who only had the one in Green Bay as well.
Yep.
So I think if Rodgers is able to get that second Lombardi trophy, I think he will always be remembered as the great quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, in this whole COVID environment, unfortunately, because I would love to see the Pack stands at Lambeau Field next week when it's super cold and people can't feel their lips and all you can see is the steam coming from everybody in the stands. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that next weekend, but it should be fun. It's going to be kind of sad, being that we only have 3 games left total this year. But I think both games should be pretty entertaining to watch. Both games are going to be on real grass, and they should be fairly chilly games. I don't know about Kansas City. We'll see what that's like. It could be raining, it could be snowing, it could be 100-mile-an-hour winds. You never know in Kansas, or actually that's in Missouri, which a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans don't even know that team is in Missouri. But anyways, point is that we got 2 games on real grass, the way football should be played. So I'm looking forward to actually just watching both games and enjoying some solid NFL football. And if Patrick Mahomes happens to break a leg or two, or break his neck, it's okay because they have Chad Henne, and he has proven that I think right there, based on his 3 or 4 plays that he had in this game, I think Chad Henne will be the number one guy everybody's going after, including the Broncos. So. According to all the Bronco fans. Oh, we love that guy!
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
So
I'm definitely excited for what this week has in store. Like I said, we'll be back on Friday night.
Yep.
To go over again a conference championship week, as well as any news that breaks leading up to that, which there should be quite a few. We had mentioned earlier that Eric Bieniemy is a very hot commodity in head coaching vacancies, but obviously they can't do anything until the Chiefs are out of the playoffs or after the Super Bowl, depending on how conference championship week folds out.
Yep.
But he is definitely on everybody's list. He's a very good coordinator. I think he'll make a very good head coach with the right players and the right people around him.
Yeah. All right. Well,
with the right players.
We've put an hour. Somehow we put an hour into 4 games, talking about results and talking about players.
Because we're good.
But our time is up here on Brofest. So, all of us here at the Playmakers, we've definitely enjoyed watching these playoff games. We hope for 2 more exciting ones next week. But just remember, next Sunday night, we will know what our Super Bowl matchup will be, and we will have 2 weeks before we can get to it. But we will definitely talk to you all next Friday. Please join us then, right here on the Playmakers. I'm Big J.
And I'm the Beard. Thank you all for joining us. This has been The
Makers.
Thank you for joining the Playmakers right here on Brofest Radio.